we begin with a court ruling in Los Angeles that could radically transform the way the big tech companies operate globally, affecting billions of users. In a landmark case, a jury has handed down an unprecedented win for a young woman who sued the companies Meta and Google over her childhood addiction to social media. Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook and WhatsApp, and Google, the owner of YouTube, were found liable for intentionally building addictive social media platforms that harmed the 20-year-old's mental health. The penalty, well, including damages and costs, around $6 million. But with potentially thousands of other cases in the pipeline, the bill for the tech giants could be huge. Google and Meta plan to appeal. We'll hear from our technology editor on the possible longer-term ramifications of the case. But first, Ellie Price has our top story tonight on a momentous day for social media.
This was a case about one woman's childhood addiction. But for these families outside the courtroom, many of whom had lost children to the darker side of social media, it was a victory for them too. And they had a stark message to the tech companies.
Stop blaming the parents. It's on you. And this is what this is showing today. And for parents, we now know that they were manipulating our children for profits while we were watching and trying to keep our families safe.
20 years old now, Kaylee, who has wanted to stay anonymous throughout, had the central argument that she became hooked as a child on social media sites because of their very design, and it had a devastating impact on her mental health.
I feel like what we're about here is something beyond just trying to make a buck, beyond just trying to help Kaylee. I feel like we're about something that is incredibly socially important and responsible. And I feel like we've made a great step forward.
He's arguably one of the most powerful men in the world. The boss of Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook and WhatsApp, appeared in person to defend his platforms during this trial. Mark Zuckerberg argued users under 13 were not allowed to use his sites and that the company tries to remove them, but conceded, "We are not perfect." The court heard Kaylee spent up to 16 hours a day on social media. The Instagram boss said that was problematic, but did not call it an addiction. Meta argued the challenges Kaylee faced in her life preceded her use of online apps.
Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. We will continue to defend ourselves vigorously as every case is different, and we remain confident in our record of protecting teens online.
The trial drew parents from across the US and the rest of the world, including the British mother Ellen Room, who lost her 14-year-old son Jules in 2022 to an online challenge that went wrong. She was speaking here before the verdict.
We met all these other American parents and realised that this is a bigger issue. It isn't just us in the UK, it's a global problem.
Though the case focused mainly on Meta, Google, which owns YouTube, was also on trial and denied that their apps are designed to harm young users. This evening, both Meta and Google said they plan to appeal the verdict. Ellie Price, BBC News.
Well, let's go live to Regan Morris, who's in Los Angeles and was at court when the ruling was handed down. Just paint a picture of the reaction, Regan, to the verdict.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in there. I was seated a few rows behind Kaylee, the plaintiff, and also behind so many of those bereaved parents who, some of whom have been here throughout this 6-week trial. You know, it was quiet during the reading of the verdict, mainly because the judge came out and warned everyone to please not react, and not to leave until the entire verdict was read out. And there were some quiet gasps, and I saw Kaylee smiling to her friend a bit. But other than that, it was fairly calm and professional. But those families, those bereaved families that were in there, they were overjoyed. And afterwards, you know, they came running out. One woman hugged me just outside the courtroom and said she felt so vindicated. She lost her son to a YouTube challenge gone wrong. And she was overjoyed. And this is, you know, these parents say this is what they've been talking about for ages, that the courts did what Congress and lawmakers would not, and that this finally might change things. And there are many more trials coming in June in California. Here we're going to have another federal case that they're against Meta and the social media companies. So this is just the tip of the spear.
Indeed. All right, Regan, thank you. Regan Morris there in Los Angeles. We're going to go now to Zoe Kleinman, our technology editor, who joins us live from Brussels. The possible ramifications, Zoe, of this case cannot be overstated, given that the tech companies have largely, seemingly been impervious to much regulation.
This is a real game-changing moment for social media, Clive. Whatever happens next, and there's likely to be appeals and legal processes to follow, the long-term impact on these platforms that are used by billions of people could be really dramatic. Perhaps we'll see the design features that the jury found made the sites more addictive, things like auto-scrolling, things like algorithmic recommendations. Perhaps they'll have to go. And that would fundamentally make using social media a very different experience and a much less appealing one. And perhaps social media is going to become an over-16s or even an over-18s experience. We've already had some experts tonight describe this as big tech's big tobacco moment, and we know how that worked out. Might we see health warnings on screens or restrictions on advertising? I honestly think the verdict has come as a shock tonight to Meta and Google, Clive. They have fought this hard at huge expense. They've spent $1,000 an hour on legal fees. The other two companies that were involved in this, TikTok and Snap, chose to settle before the case even started. Meta maintains that a single app cannot be solely responsible for a teen mental health crisis. But it isn't a shock to the campaigners and the parents who've tirelessly argued that children are in danger on social media and the tech companies aren't doing enough to protect them. For them, this is a huge victory, a giant I told you so, and we'll have to see now what happens in the UK with the a potential ban for under 16s on social media, currently in public consultation. It's dividing Parliament as well. We've had the House of Lords today vote against an amendment to a bill which would have given ministers a year to decide which platforms to ban. The government's already rejected that. It's got to go back to the Commons today. After tonight's verdict, it might get a warmer reception this time around.